Welcome to the Grade 2 Introductory session. Please ensure that you're already familiar with the contents of our liftoff session and have a copy of the Grade 2 Teacher's Guide handy for reference and for clarification throughout this very brief overview. You may be using this presentation as a brief reminder of what you've already learned during a Letterland training, or if a local training is not available, this may be your first exposure to Letterland training. Please remember that Letterland has a training team that is available and always delighted to answer any of your questions. You can contact the team at training@letterland.com. But now, let's jump into Grade 2. Over the last few years, children have discovered the fun of learning using Letterland's unique phonics-based approach with our child-friendly characters and stories to help explain the wonders of the English language. But now they need to move on. The activities suggested throughout this guide consolidate this learning. They provide a solid foundation in phonics, word recognition, and spelling. They allow children to practice reading for fluency and comprehension while still remaining in line with the Common Core standards. More detailed information about how Letterland correlates to the standards can be found on our website at letterland.com under Download. Grade 2 follows a very similar format to first grade, so the children will see similarities to the 5-day plan used to introduce each new concept. Let's get on board the syllable train. Our focus will be to build on from the work accomplished in the previous grades. We want to encourage fluent reading and develop spelling skills using previously learned letter and digraph sounds. We also want to help the children recognize and correctly pronounce more advanced letter combinations. We want them to build accuracy, fluency, and expression when reading and rereading meaningful fiction and nonfiction, while also deepening their comprehension through collaborative retelling, active discussion, analysis, vocabulary building, and dramatization. At the same time, we want them to continue to develop accurate spelling for increasingly more complex vocabulary. You'll help the children to recognize and use the 6-syllable types to decode and spell multi-syllable words, at the same time as encouraging them to read and spell advanced, irregular, high-frequency words. All the instructional support materials, fortunately, that you will need to start are all included in your Grade 2 teacher pack. You may like to take a look at those materials right now before we begin. Don't worry if you don't have the entire pack as shown on the screen. This is our recommended pack of materials, but check what you have and then you'll be able to adapt accordingly. I hope you have a variety of types of materials and we'll refer to them throughout this video. Whatever you have though, please look at them and think about their use as we consider the recommended teaching strategies for this grade level. You will have noticed that the recommended teacher materials include word cards, flashcards, and posters, as well as audio CDs and computer software. Letterland also offers supportive apps, ebooks, and MP3 resources to add to the selection of material available for your use. Letterland's teaching program is explained in your teacher's guide, which provides you with a day-by-day, step-by-step teaching plan. This will replace any phonics and spelling program that you're currently using. You may want to pause this presentation and have a quick look at the structure of the guide before moving on to the next slide. Because of its more advanced content, Grade 2 may be considered more serious, but all learning should always be fun and memorable. We want to cover all the key features needed by these young learners, but we do want to ensure that it's not just a checklist. You'll find a detailed scope and sequence in the teacher's guide. If you're familiar with earlier Letterland teaching, you'll notice that we're using a spiraling approach. We build from the previously learned patterns while adding more advanced activities and techniques. These need to be understood by the children, but when necessary, intervention approaches are available. The teacher's guide is accompanied by a CD containing hundreds of resources for both classroom and home use, including decodable plays, activities for word sorting, review sentences, song lyrics and games, as well as assessment materials. I strongly recommend that you study the contents closely and print off copies of some of these very valuable resources. The Grade 2 word cards are an essential companion to the Grade 2 teaching materials. You'll find that each card has a reference to the unit it's used in. If the word is a tricky word, then TW will also be seen at the top right corner. Header cards are also included to make for easy classroom management. Another very useful resource which will be used throughout grade 2 is our bright and colorful syllable poster. It's a great resource and quick reference for you and your students. But the grade 2 teacher's guide explains in far more detail how the Letterland approach provides an understanding of syllabification. One of the techniques used throughout the year is quick coding. This approach is clearly explained within the teacher's guide. Children use symbols to help them recognize how the sounds and syllables work in words. In writing, quick coding helps show what they know about words. This in turn helps the children to remember what they've learned and see how that helps them move forward with new patterns. Quick coding is a tool that allows the children to think about how to read and spell new words. So, let's get started. These activities provide a quick introduction for those who are new to Letterland and allow you to closely observe your children's literacy development and literacy levels. Use the various materials available to introduce the Letterlanders. You can use the picture code cards, showing the picture side to introduce the character, and then their plain letter shape when making the sound. Or you can use a pocket chart to match pictures from the CD with the correct characters and their sounds. The weekly placement materials help you decide which level is appropriate for each child. If this is your first year teaching Letterland Grade 2, you may want to start everyone at the same place, either Unit A or Unit 1, to let you settle into all of the routines. After the first few weekly assessments, and depending upon the children's progress, you'll be able to use the results to determine whether there is a need to start using intervention strategies or not. Our 5-day unit plan is explained in the teacher's guide with each individual activity described in detail. Please remember that each day is important, so all the material has to be covered, even if there is a change in the classroom routine. So day 1 will not always fall on the same day each week. Each unit follows the 5-day plan, with day 1 introducing new concepts and live reading, day 2 focusing on live spelling and word detectives, day 3 concentrating on word sorting and reader's theater, day 4 explores reading fluency and word games. Day 5 is then our fluency and spelling assessment day. Across the week, activities move from full teacher support towards total child independence. When you look at the full instructions for each unit, you'll notice that each day contains both whole group and small group instructional work. There's also the opportunity for independent practice. Please note that reading and spelling activities happen every single day. Let's start by looking at the introductory page to Unit 2. The first thing to be aware of on this page is the new concepts. In this unit, that's introducing the concept of open and closed syllables. Then you see the pocket chart, and notice that we will be sorting words by vowels. This is something the children are already familiar with from their previous experiences. We'll also review some digraphs and blends learned during Grade 1. Children will be assigned the List A words during the first week working through this unit, but after the end of the week assessments, you have to decide whether to move on to Unit 3 or repeat Unit 2 for another week. List B provides an alternative list of words for a second week, and List C is a third repetition if required. The 4 diagnostic words are not included in the weekly list shared with the students, but they include the same spelling patterns and are included during the spelling checkups as bonus words. The goal is for children to spell at least 3 of the 4 diagnostic words correctly to show that they've transferred the concepts and not just memorized specific words. The list includes 8 review words from previous units, which children will practice reading and spelling throughout the week. They will then be included in the assessment at the end of the week. As the children already know, any unfamiliar word is tricky. Calling these irregular but frequently used words tricky words reminds them that they do not sound out or spell exactly as they sound. That's why they're taught by a different method. These words are often called sight words or dolch words. They're between 2 to 4 words that are introduced in each and every unit. These tricky words are also included in the new spelling sentences and in the decodable stories for the unit. During the week, we'll practice reading and spelling all of them. They are then included in the assessments. To ensure that all of the picture code cards are systematically reviewed over time, a suggested list is included for each unit, but you should feel free to add or subtract from this list based upon the needs of your children. Each unit includes a decodable story. The story includes words and patterns that have been taught in this unit or previous units. But to help the story make sense and to add interest, a few story words are needed. The children are not expected to decode or spell these words, though they may serve as an appropriate challenge for some of your more advanced students. Remember that all of these words are included in the box of word cards. The unit number is included on each card, and story words are marked with an S after the number, just as tricky words are marked with a TW. The first two types of syllables that are taught in grade 2 are open and closed. We'll introduce a few two-syllable words and so show how to divide the word before identifying the syllable type. If you look at your copy of the syllable poster, you'll see that the train cards illustrate how we teach children to identify syllable types. The first thing to do is to place a dot under each of the vowels. Initially, during the first part of the year, the teacher shows children where to draw the train cards. In other words, where the syllables divide. Then we predict the vowel sound and whether the syllable is open or closed. In open syllables, the vowel man is the last letter. In open syllables, the vowel man is the last letter. The children already know that vowel men are the only Letterlanders that get to say their last names in words. Now, they learn that the vowel men don't just say their name, but like to shout their name into open spaces. They shout into the open air, but always in the reading direction, so they don't shout into anyone's ear. This quickly and visually confirms that open syllables have just one vowel, and it's at the end. Go, so, me, he, and she are all open syllable words, while mew at the start of music is the open syllable in that word. The sick in music is a closed syllable because the vowel I is enclosed between the two consonants S and C. Again, on the poster, we will see examples of closed syllables. Dot the vowels in chipmunk, and you will see that we have two closed syllables. If needed, you can check the video clips online for further information. You'll teach children to listen for the number of syllables in a word by first palming the syllables. As explained in the teacher's guide and seen on the video clips on the website, hamburger has 3 vowel pockets with 3 syllables, which we palm by moving our hand 3 times in the reading direction. Alternatively, we could use the pocket chart to discover the syllable types in the word robot. First, identify the vowels, 2 O's, and then split the word between the RO and the BOT. We can hear Mr. O shouting into the open space, row, an open syllable, and then bot is the closed syllable with the short ah sound between the 2 consonants. Let's keep looking at Unit 2, but now look at the daily overview. We know that the Day 1 activities concentrate on introducing a new concept and on reading activities. Yet another teaching strategy is live reading. The children first identify the vowels and then moving slightly apart to indicate the open and closed principle. Assuming the children have been taught using Letterland strategies in the past, they'll be very familiar with live reading, and this is a simple extension of that activity. Please check your teacher's guide or the video clips on the website to ensure you're comfortable with this technique. Remember that with live reading, you begin by lining the children up holding picture code cards and then finger tap to blend the sounds and read the word. To check fluency, you might like to use our tractor, trains, planes, helicopters strategy as explained in the Grade 2 Teacher's Guide. Children start by reading the word slowly, but build up pace as that slow tractor picks up speed like a train, and then like a plane. Downloadable images which can be used as pointers are available on our website. An explanation for the procedure to introduce tricky words is included in the teacher's guide. We recommend using a 3x3 tricky word routine, which is demonstrated on our website. Once the tricky word has been identified, write the tricky word on the board. and then say the word and use it in a sentence. Children should use a finger tapping strategy to listen for the sounds in the word. They then identify the sounds that they can't explain and mark those by drawing a wavy line underneath. Silent letters should then be rewritten with a dotted line. In air tracing, display the word, say the word, who. Children then trace each letter in the air while saying the letter name, W-H-O. Air trace a line under the word as they say the whole word, who. This air tracing process is done 3 times, first with a normal voice, then with a whisper, and finally with just their mouth or lips moving but no sound coming out. Step 2 of the 3x3 strategy is a repeat of step 1, but this time the writing is invisible but not in the air. Once the children are ready, erase the word, and now everyone traces the letters with their fingers on the table or say on a carpet 3 times, saying the letter names each time, beginning with a normal voice, then a whisper voice, and then just silently mouthing the words. Check that the children form the word correctly. That now makes 6 times that the children have formed this tricky word, and so it's beginning to get established in their mind as a routine. Visible writing is the last step in the 3x3 strategy. Children write the word 3 times following the same procedure, voice, whispered, and silent mouthing of the word. But now they're going to write it on an erasable surface or paper. Each time they should cover or erase the previous version so they are writing from memory rather than copying. Now they're ready to use the word in their writing. Please check that you are familiar with the strategies that we've covered for day 1. Now, let's move on to day 2. As with day 1, the same activities are used in every unit on day 2 of the 5-day plan, and they're described in detail in your teacher's guide. Live spelling engages the children and allows them to take possession of the sounds they hear in words. You may be familiar with this strategy. It's explained in detail in your teacher's guide, in the liftoff session, and online. When live spelling was used in grade 1, the teacher said each word, used it in a sentence to clarify the meaning of the word, before then repeating it. Meanwhile, the children said the word and then stretched it, jiggling out the sounds before forming the words with their flashcards. Finally, everyone checked they had spelled the word correctly using the roller coaster trick. Now in 2nd grade, we start by asking the children to catch the word that you throw at them before they say the word and listen for the sounds. Contest. It has 2 vowels, which means 2 palm movements. Next, children tap or finger pop to represent the sounds they hear in first one syllable and then the next. The children with the appropriate flashcards line up, and the whole class will finger sound the word to check their spelling. Try it. The word detective strategy is designed to help children gain experience and practice their ever-expanding knowledge. In previous levels, children will have learned about picture coding to help them identify the sounds and shapes of the letters. As mentioned earlier, in grade 2, we use a more advanced form of coding. The children can quickly illustrate their understanding with a few quick marks. A digraph can be boxed, a silent letter backslashed, an R-control vowel drawn as if in the robot's robber sack. After dotting the vowels, short vowels are marked with a brev to indicate their happy, friendly Letterland associations, and long vowels with a straight line as a place for the vowel man to sign his name. Syllables are recognized by the addition of train cars, and so on. Full instructions for quick coding are seen in the teacher's guide, and I promise soon will become second nature. There are many resources, like the Magnetic Word Builder, that you can use to help the children build words and practice spelling accuracy. You can also use the straight picture code cards, software, or apps. But where possible, please make sure correct magnet or cards are chosen for the vowels and the digraphs. Remember that the review sentences, which are a Day 2 activity, are on the CD that accompanies your teacher's guide. These review sentences include tricky words and decodable words, and are very useful to systematically review material introduced in previous units and to gauge the children's retention of information. Children should read the sentences to themselves and be prepared to answer relevant questions. The review sentences are useful for small group, independent, or partner work. Please check that you're familiar with the strategies that are used on day 2 before we move on to the rest of the week. Day 3 and 4 see the children practicing their reading and spelling skills and reinforcing the newly learned information. Or they may use a live word sort as an alternative to using the pocket chart on some days. Children do a spelling sort using these written word sort sheets. Children check and read with a partner on day 3, but on day 4, the teacher tosses a word to the children who then catch it. They repeat it, then palm the syllables, and finally finger sound the word before writing it in the appropriate column. Various comprehension activities are suggested throughout the teacher's guide. As well as reading of the plays and stories from the CD, there are ideas for games, including Red Robot's Reading Race, as a way to practice parts of the student list. Tricky words, review words, new words, or sentences are all included. On day 4, the review sentences for the specific unit are used for quick coding practice. Both spelling and fluency are equally important on day 5. Teachers should use both tests to confirm the children's proficiency in both areas. When checking the children's sound knowledge, the teacher says the sound, the children repeat the sound, and then they write the letters. To ensure children listen and recall the spelling pattern of the previous weeks as well as the current week, review words are included in the test. Bonus diagnostic words, which match the pattern of the unit words, but were not included on the list of words that the children have practiced during the week, should also be included. This is to help children transfer their knowledge and not rely simply on rote learning. If mastery is achieved, which is judged to be 80% correct, and 3 of the 4 diagnostic words, then children pass to the next unit. Decisions about what to do if mastery is not reached and intervention is needed will have to be considered. The fluency check instructions are included in the teacher's guide. Each child gets 2 turns. They read for 60 seconds, perhaps with the teacher doing the timing while the children work in pairs, testing each other. As I mentioned earlier, all 6 syllable types are covered in the Grade 2 Teacher's Guide and are shown on our informative poster. So now that we've seen how the 5-day unit plan works, let's focus on them. We've already introduced the closed and open syllable types, but for all of the syllable types, full explanations can be found in the Teacher's Guide and on video clips found on our website. In Letterland, we explain the split digraph spelling pattern with reference to the magic silent E. Sparks shoot out over one letter to make the vowel man appear. This story, learned by children in previous years, is used to identify the magic E syllable type. If we look at a word like chime and quick code it, we can see how the process works. Dot the vowels I, E, box the digraph CH, add the backslash through the silent E, then add the magic sparks, and the vowel man's line. Chime is a magic E syllable. Do the same for rotate, and you will see that ro is a closed syllable and tate is a magic E syllable. In Unit 9, we explain that when 2 vowel men go out walking, the first one does the talking. This story provides the children with a recall route to remember the sounds made by the various vowel teams. It was introduced to the children in earlier grade levels. Now the same approach is used to introduce another syllable type. Here, 2 or more adjacent letters represent one vowel phoneme. Yet another syllable type is known in Letterland as the robot syllable. This follows on from the story of how the robot steals the vowels and puts them in their robot sacks before reporting their catch by saying their last name, R, or, and These are the R-controlled syllables. By circling the vowels in the robot sack when quick coding, the children are reminded of the correct sound. The 6th and final syllable type is the candle L syllable. That syllable consists of a consonant followed by LE. The magic E on the end of these words turns Lucy into a candle which shoots magic over another consonant. This is why we hear Mr. A in maple, but not in candle. The vowel in candle is a schwa sound. In any class, as you know, there are large differences in children's needs. Grade 2 Teacher's Guide starts off with review of short vowels, but the content quickly becomes more challenging. You may find that many of your students are meeting the goals of the weekly spelling and fluency checks, but that some are consistently not. So, the question on each day 5 is whether to move ahead or to reteach the same unit using List B or C. Intervention is covered in the Teacher's Guide. Further assessment tools can be found in the Teacher's Guide as well, and you'll need to look carefully at the class record to help consider who would benefit from further assistance and how to determine the students that would benefit most from small group intervention. This is the 5-day plan for intervention. You simply plug the unit you're teaching into it and you use the same materials. Within each intervention lesson, there are 5 steps that are worked through on a daily basis. It's very likely that targeted children will be placed in a previous unit, but they should still be allowed to sit in on whole group lessons so that they're exposed to on-grade level material. They will also need to remain at the appropriate level until these earlier reading and spelling skills are mastered, and they meet the criteria for reading fluency and spelling. They then can move on to the next unit. On the CD, there are intervention guide cards. These are a set of quick card references to act as a reminder of what needs to be covered each day. I strongly recommend that you print out a copy for yourself to keep handy for reference. Thank you for watching this very brief session introducing you to what is covered in our Grade 2 Teacher's Guide. Please refer to your Teacher's Guide for more detailed instruction about all of the topics mentioned today. You can also watch brief video clips explaining all of the strategies on our website at Letterland.com. And I hope when you start teaching Letterland that you'll feel the same way as these teachers. Remember, this was a very brief introduction to our program, and we are happy to provide any help and support that we can offer. There are lots of free downloads and useful information on our website at Letterland.com. On screen, you can see a list of all the useful links we've referred to throughout this Letterland video. You can also contact training@Letterland.com for any further questions. We hope to see you in Letterland real soon.
Well done. Bye-bye. See you again soon.